Good morning, good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to another Geek Tavern. As always, it's me, Shawn. I'm joined by Mike.
Hello.
And Aaron.
Guten Tag.
And today we are going to be reviewing Aaron's recommendation this week, which is Georgetown. Came out in 2019. So we'll have spoilers for that movie.
Or 2021. We're not sure.
Yeah, I think this was a pandemic movie. Like it finished shooting and was
2017.
it was supposed to be released in 2019, but then got pushed back, and then it ended up getting pushed the whole way back to last year because of the pandemic.
And then it just got pushed the whole way onto streaming services.
It just got pushed entirely onto Prime, where anyone can watch it now.
Well, it's currently on Paramount Plus, so it's where I watch it.
Oh, okay. All right. We watched it on
Or
Prime.
watch. Never mind.
But yes.
Strictly streaming.
Yes.
So I came across this movie while I was going through Prime, and I saw that Christoph Waltz was in it, and I was like, cool. I was like, I like Christoph Waltz. I like all of his movies. So I watched the trailer for it, and the movie revolves around Ulrich Mott, who is a, spoilers, glorified con man, who literally
He's
just
a pathological liar.
Yes.
Yeah.
He kind of buys into his own bullshit.
Yeah.
Half the time.
But he also, the story takes place.
over the course of 20 years.
Well, that, and it takes place in DC, where basically all the pathological liars, not because it's political, but all the high rollers or whatever.
Yeah. He basically tries to blend in.
Right.
And
so they all believe his bullshit,
Yeah.
because they're all full of it too.
Yeah. So he basically gets in contact with the right people and slaps their name onto whatever he needs, and then will hold these conferences and stuff like that, and speaking. He'll have speakers come in and whatever, and he'll pretend that he did this thing when actually he didn't.
Right.
What he does is basically use his wife, who's 20, 30 years older than him.
Yeah, she's
She's a famous. She's a very well-renowned author.
Yeah, journalist.
And he basically gets in with her and uses her money to finance his grift of playing all these political people into his bullshit, which doesn't actually exist. But he covers his tracks so well by putting this person's name in this conversation and vice versa in order to create a system of deniable plausibility, so nobody actually looks into the bullshit that he's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the character started off with good intentions when he came to America at the beginning, when he's a tour guide and stuff like that. I think that he had good intentions and then realized he was never going to actually get through that way. And I think that because we don't actually get to see whether he was actually studying,
Right.
which I think is probably another lie.
Yeah, he's probably a liar.
But I mean, he knew what he wanted to do, but also didn't know how to do it. So he just basically grifted his entire career while in DC. And then, so the plot thickens when his wife is found dead, and he has everything to gain from her death. So he becomes suspect number one. And spoilers, he did it. But the movie is basically about the unraveling of his whole tapestry of bullshit that he's woven through the last 30 years. 20 years. But it's interesting to see, because when you meet the character, you know that he and the wife have issues. Clearly, like any married couple have issues. They fight, they bicker, but it starts to take a turn when he disappears for 2 years and then they he sends communiques back and forth that are intercepted by the CIA, and
he sends them directly to the CIA.
Yeah, telling them what's happening, and it's just by sheer coincidence that he knows this inside information. Some like all of it's bullshit.
Fake,
yeah, it's all fake. But the events that are transpiring in the Iraq War, where he's pretending to be stationed at, is like they're winning. But he's propagating this whole story around it and pretending that he's this brigadier general and blah, 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 which is the opening shot of the movie is the camera pans up to him in uniform, and then there's a brigade of soldiers in front of him that he's commanding. And he wears that uniform all over. I don't know where the fuck he actually got the uniform, but
who knows?
But he starts to like wear the medals, and then like people are starting to call him out on it, and they're like, I don't recognize any of those military achievements, and he's like, they're never mind. Like he'll just like play it off. Like at one point he's talking to one guy who wears an eye patch, and then the guy later asks him, he's like, I thought when we met you had an eye patch, and he's like, no, I don't think so. Like it's, and then everybody just laughs it off like it was nothing, but. He slips up, and his wife like starts to take notice of the things that he lies about, and then of course at the end of the movie she finds out through tax documents that come in where he was working for that entire 2 years. And then she calls him out on it and tells him that he was just a hotel clerk. And then what's the I forget what the catalyst is that drives him to actually kill her.
Basically, he's just... That's the confrontation is like... Because he sneaks off to have an affair with somebody, and then he comes back, and she's like totally not buying it, and he's like, I'm a great man, I've done great things, and she just calls him on his bullshit, and he's like, you're a hotel clerk on a shitty whatever. And basically he realizes like, well... At this point, because of his lie was so successful, like his bullshitting that he was like an actual mediator for the Iraqis and the Americans in the Iraq War, like somehow it managed to work out in his favor. He actually has like some standing in a political sphere in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, because they think that he was the one who actually established this.
So I think the motivator is just like, well, she knows that I'm lying, so I won't let her tell anybody that I'm lying.
Yeah.
And he probably thought that he's just such a good liar because of how well it's worked out for him in the past that he'd be able to lie himself out of being the main suspect in the killing of his wife.
But like it's interesting to me. And I mentioned this to you the other day. It's interesting. The most interesting thing to me is the lengths that his character goes to like further unravel this, but also like because they talk about his military service, they're like, oh, it says you had military service. Why didn't you mention that? And he's like, it didn't seem like it was something that needed to be said. Or,
why do I have to do your due diligence for you or whatever?
Yeah.
To his lawyers.
Yeah, and then they say something to him regarding the case, so that he's like, go talk to this guy, he'll explain everything. And then they get that's where they find all the communiques and everything, but then they're like trying to further the case to win it for him, and then he's like, I'm gonna defend myself. And I mean he tries so hard but ultimately digs his own grave.
What I think how I interpreted that scene is like they're prying and they're like, okay, you didn't kill your wife, you say you didn't kill your wife, you think you know who did, tell us who it is, who you think killed them, and then we can, start working a case from that perspective. And I think what he was trying to imply was that, like, an Iraqi, like, extremist or something broke into his house and killed his wife.
But he could have literally just explained that.
Yeah.
And lied about it.
Yeah, but then that's like now the war is over, but like at that point it would have been just like reigniting an entire fucking thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, this is just another international incident that my lie is going to be responsible for. All these innocent lives are going to be lost because I don't want to go to jail. And I want to have gay sex.
And that's another thing. Does this character actually grow a conscience at that point?
I don't know. I don't think so. Because he goes on a hunger strike, essentially, killing himself. I mean, I think that's how we're supposed to interpret it.
Is that he
movies,
dies.
That he dies in order to save his reputation. Where this is based loosely off of a real, like, Washington Post article that came out. So
about a guy who is currently serving a 50-year federal prison sentence.
For killing his wife?
Yes. And apparently all this other shit that he claimed he did.
Yeah, all just this, like, loads and loads of lying and everything like that. Fake organizations like the dude was making in the film. The EPA or whatever. EPG. Yeah, that's the...
Eminent Persons Group.
Yeah,
So it just goes to show you, kids, you can lie and get away with it to a point. That's how self-made men are made.
Yeah, I feel like all the people in Washington are just way too busy doing more important shit
to actually stop and research.
Yeah, they can't scrutinize like all the shit that he's saying.
No, which is like that's what made like his character interesting, is because he knew that they weren't going to look into it, and especially with the contacts and names that he had. Like what, he went and talked to George Soros. And then he went to who did he stop while they were eating dinner?
McNamara.
Yeah, Robert McNamara. And he was like, and he mentioned George Soros, and he's like, yeah, he's like, pull up a chair, we'll talk. Like, shit that, like, you would never, like, you would have to drop that name for them to go, oh, okay, yeah. Like, he knew what brand recognition to collate.
He's just Mooser.
Yeah. He's a glorified con man. But I mean, he plays the role well. Christoph Waltz always plays a villain well. Like that's kind of his shtick.
Well, that's the interesting thing about the movie. It's not structured in a way where you like are clear that he's a villain.
No, and that's what I liked about it, is it wasn't set up right at the get-go that he was the one who did it and everything. Like, but towards the middle of the movie, then you're like, okay, he definitely did it, right? Or had somebody else do it.
I was talking, and that's the thing, is that scene where his wife confronts him and it's like, you're a liar, and it cuts to him like those previous conversations that we saw where he's like at the hotel. I thought, like, obviously, like you're supposed to think, or at least I thought, you're supposed to think that he's lying about everything. And then whenever, or maybe the film wants you to think that he isn't lying, and then whenever it shows you that it's supposed to be this huge bombshell that goes off. But I was like, he's clearly lying. He's clearly not in Iraq or anything. So whenever that scene happened, I was like, yeah, duh. I thought it would have been better. Obviously, it's based on true events, so they probably don't want to end the movie that way, but I thought it would have been better if what he was saying was all real.
Yeah.
And like he was actually like, oh, this guy's a piece of shit con artist. Like, obviously he's lying. And then it ends up that it's actually true.
Yeah.
And that he was like, oh, well,
Yeah,
that'd been more interesting.
No twist or anything.
Yeah.
And this, I might add that this is also Christoph Waltz's directorial debut, this movie. It was directed well.
Yeah. It was it had a weird structure where it like followed Ulrich Mott's life, because it's like what the intern, where he's an intern for some congressperson.
Yeah, there's chapters to each,
and then he becomes the butler, where he's basically a glorified servant for his wife, and then the diplomat or whatever, and then that's whenever he starts
building his
doing his shit, and then I don't know. It was a case of non-linear storytelling as well.
Yeah.
Because it was like jumping back and forth between his flashbacks of him like living with his wife and his like ongoing trial that was happening.
Which works because if you really take the events it would be very short anyway, from her murder or death to trial and all that. Like, it would be too short. Like, I like how it's interspliced
Yeah.
because then you can fill more time for the movie. Yeah.
Christoph Waltz is clearly the standout of the film.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be borderline unwatchable if he wasn't in it. I think.
Yeah. If it was anyone else other than Christoph Waltz, I don't think it would have worked.
Yeah.
But Christoph Waltz has that power behind him as an actor that makes it entertaining to watch him do this. And actually, it might have been smarter for him to actually have somebody kill her. And actually, I'll tell you both right now, I thought that's why he had the meeting.
Oh, to like hire a hitman?
Well, I knew that it was the guy.
Oh,
but when he
right.
said to him about being a soldier, I was like, has he used him to kill people in the past? Like, because at that point, I don't know what lengths this character's gone to
Right.
accomplish his goals. But I thought that he was meeting with him to be like, hey, I need you to do one job for me. I need you to go and take her out.
And then we can have all the sex we want.
Yeah, like, and that's what I thought was going to happen, was like he was either going to contract him to do it, that way they could be together, or he was going to have him find somebody who would, because he couldn't tarnish his reputation, which honestly would have made a better, like, I understand his character and why he did what he did, but it would have been smarter, and that's where I thought the movie was taking us, was he was going to talk him into doing it, or saying he was going to knock her off so that they could be together.
It was also apparently still in the time where being gay was very not accepted, because his wife, I mean, she was like 100 years old, but was basically being like, oh, you're running around with your sodomite friends. And even he was like, we can continue our relationship, but we have to be even more discreet about it than before. Like, if anybody finds out, it's basically dirt that they can use on them or whatever, which I don't know if it would be like that now, you know?
To which then he was like, yeah, no, never mind.
He's like, I don't want to have sex with you that bad.
I mean, if it was around the time of the Iraq War, I guess it was still pretty...
Yeah, like late 2000, early 2010s probably.
Yeah.
Is right around the area that it was. Yeah.
The daughter is kind of I don't know, she's not really even like a character.
No, not really.
She's not even like in the movie for more than like 5 minutes.
Yeah, she like sparks the antagonism between the two of them, and then she is a force of pressing the fact that he's a liar and that he should investigate and everything like that. But other than that, that's all she is.
Yeah, there's nothing else that her character does.
And then that one guy from Kong Skull Island was in it.
Yeah,
he was the lawyer. Brooks.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the one lawyer, and then until he started representing himself.
Yeah.
I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, he was Brooks.
The music is forgettable. I don't remember any of the music that was in it.
It's Lorne Balfe, and the only other thing that I know he did was Terminator Genesis. Yeah.
No, he's got my
seal of approval.
Yeah. I like that movie.
I like it too.
I like his rendition of the Terminator theme that he did. But yeah, the music was forgettable. In most of these dramatic movies, the music is it's wallpaper. It's not. Yeah. It's nothing that you're really gonna pay too much attention to.
It's literally background noise.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know. I really like the performances and everything. I feel like if it was a better script, I might have liked it more, but I don't know. It's kind of extremely dry. You have to be really in the mood for something like this, I think.
I mean, I guess that's an opportune time. I didn't fucking finish the movie.
He killed the wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
It's when we were watching it, I was like, this isn't even a slow burn. This is just kind of a.
See, I thought
it's
when
a
I
movie to watch.
when I messaged you guys, I thought it was me that day, and then I continued today. I'm like, no, it's not me.
It couldn't be me.
No, it's like I said, the reason why I recommended this is because I love Christoph Waltz as an actor, and I was like, oh, it's his directorial debut. This movie has a decent score because I think on Prime it was 3.5 stars out of 5.
See,
So I was like, well, it's decent, I guess.
I put this movie in like a category where I say like people who like vote on Emmys and shit, like they would like it.
Oh yeah.
But
It's an Oscar bait movie.
right, yeah.
It's Oscar bait movie, and it probably
I mean, I don't know if it's successful or not.
it probably would be in nomination for Best Actor,
Yeah, that's about it.
but that's it.
or maybe
It wouldn't be Best Screenplay. Wouldn't be Best. Yeah, there would be nothing.
Is there a best directorial debut?
No.
There's Best Director,
Yeah.
but I still don't think it would have won
Yeah.
for Best Director. Which, granted, it's his first movie directing. So, but I actually had to look up to see if he wrote it, and he didn't. He had nothing to do with the writing. Somebody else
good.
wrote it. So I think all he did was starred, directed, and produced.
Yeah.
So I guess this was obviously a passion project. Because Christoph Waltz he just did not have the best screenwriter.
Yeah.
He didn't have the worst screenwriter either, because I've seen worsely written movies.
Yeah, worst films.
So I mean, it's definitely watchable, but like you guys said, you have to be in the mood.
Yeah.
You definitely have to get into the right mindset. You can't watch like John Wick and then turn this on just as like an easy Sunday movie. Like,
I mean, maybe it in there lies my problem. Like, I started watching The Witcher this weekend, so like
you're going from balls to the walls action.
like I'm coming from House
cyber,
of Dragon, going to The Witcher,
fantasy violence
like
into this very gray
yeah.
dramatization.
Yeah. So I apologize for not finishing it, but I just couldn't do it.
No, I don't blame you for not finishing it. It like I said, it's very bland.
It is very bland.
But I mean, that's why we recommend.
I mean, the story
that's why we
overall
sometimes recommend movies that
fine
we've
story.
never seen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this is all about. We recommend something.
Like
sometimes we recommend something we've watched. Sometimes
like
we recommend
you
something.
guys talking about the story. Happens to somebody every episode.
You ever have that moment where your light flashes before your eyes as you go back and you're like,
yeah, like it's a good discussion piece. I like the story is a good story.
oh, sorry, like it's movies like this that let us dive into an actual actor and a character, because this is very much a character-driven thing because there's not a lot of action. There's nothing really driving the story. This is more about the character and his journey and all the shit that he's done, culminating to this one moment. Which I mean, I guess that's what the structure of the movie was. It was just we had it happen, but then we had to go back and figure out it. It's almost like Knives Out, except
kind of.
Almost, because
I immediately got that.
You have all the
that
flashback, well, because you start out with the death.
Right.
And then you have to figure out who did it. But then, like with Knives Out, there's the twist at the end, but we think that we already know what happened. But then there are other things that transpire. This more takes that he's still preaching innocence, even though we all know damn well that he did it, and it's just about the events leading up to him actually doing it.
Now, if this was suggested first, I probably could have got into the story, but having just done Knives Out and having that murder thriller thing and be so good.
Which that's
like,
what the trailer for this like preached to me, is it was
right.
kind of going to be like a Knives Out thing, because it was, they told you in the trailer that the wife died, And then he said to the daughter, he's like, I need to find the men who killed your mother.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and then they start showing all of him schmoozing with these political people and everything. And you're like, okay, somebody in power, somebody got jealous or something, wanted to knock her off.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you think that this is going to be a, how do we figure out who did it and
Right.
all this? But no, it's not a who done it. It's, we know who done it.
Yeah,
Why
see,
you
now,
doing
if I
it?
would have saw that trailer, I would have been so pissed.
Well, and that's what led me to want to watch it, because I was like, oh, this is neat. This is like a political thriller drama. Like, this is going to be interesting. And then it completely flipped that narrative, which again was interesting because I was like, oh, it changed my expectations. But again, not the best movie. Like I said, not the worst movie, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Christoph Waltz is the plus.
6 out of 10.
Oh, we're just jumping right in?
I don't have anything else to say unless you do.
I mean, am I allowed to rate it? I didn't finish it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you feel free if you want to, but you can abstain if you want to. Too.
I'll second your 6 out of 10.
I mean, I don't know. 4 out of 10, because I can understand why somebody would enjoy it. I just couldn't finish it.
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
Well, that was our discussion of Georgetown. We have another recommendation coming from me, for me. For
You
next
get to choose the next recommendation.
And I think I'm going to choose something that's a little bit loftier, a little bit lighter in tone than this. And my recommendation for next episode is going to be The Big Lebowski.
I've never watched this thing.
I've never seen.
I've watched like the first 10 minutes maybe 10 times, but I've never actually made it through the whole.
I think I've seen the clip. They're at like a bowling alley or some shit.
It's a bowling movie.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch Kingpin and come back, and you guys are gonna be talking about like John Goodman. I'll be like, Bill Murray was great in this movie.
I'm pretty sure this is the third Coen Brothers movie that I've recommended for the podcast, but
Miller's Crossing, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and then, yeah, it's your third.
And now this. So, if you don't want to be spoiled for The Big Lebowski before next episode, make sure to watch it, because we will be having a spoiler discussion about it. Thank you for watching or listening. I know we enjoyed having our talk. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we will see you in the next one, guys. Should I rush the camera like Prince Paul did at the end?